Kakadosh Boker or Bekiim Halacha 4, day 24, page 61, Siman Kafhei, Halacha Membet, Halacha 42. Asul Afsik Bedibur Ben Tfilin Shel Yad Tfilin Shel Rosh. Remember, you're never allowed to interrupt between Tfilin Shel Yad and Rosh. V'imifsik, and if you do make a pasek, yeah, this is Baba Haki's famous thing, right? Yeshlu levarech al Tfilin Shel Rosh. You have to make the bracha of Tfilin Shel Rosh. Baruch Ata Shem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Kishuvim Tzvanu al Misvat Tefilin. 57. The Gemara Masechet Menachot says, if someone makes an interruption between Tefillin Shel Yad and Tefillin Shel Rosh, he did an Averah, right? And this sin is so bad that he has to come back from the battlefield from it. And Rashi explains, I'm on page 62 now on the footnote, Rashi says, so he says, this refers to someone who spoke between Tefillin Shel Yad and Tefillin Shel Rosh. Tosfot says, according to Rashi, that if a person speaks, he just has to make another bracha, he wouldn't be considered a sinner. On the opposite, he gained the bracha. The Bet Yosef says that all the other poskim disagree with this interpretation. That is, whether or not he says a bracha or not, he still did an avirah, right? And that's what that's how we paskin basically. So why did the Chachamim say that for such a sin you have to go back from the war? תחשוב, למה זה כל כך גרוע שצריך לחזור מהמלחמה בגלל שהוא דיבר בין תפילין של יד? מה כל כך גרוע? Well, what did he do already? He spoke. So he says, the Rosh comes and he says that the Chachamim tell us that when you do a mitzvah in a certain manner for our own benefit, in this case, the manner we put on the tefillin shel yad and tefillin shel rosh without interruption, in order to v'tarav zeroav kodkod, that he will sever the enemy's arm with his head. So he says the warriors of the tribe of Hashem were so powerful that with a single strike, they would not only decapitate an enemy soldier, it would cut through his soldier and also cut along the entire head. I mean, he used to go like this, and he used to cut upwards. Hayad ima rosh, akol kacha, kol kach chazak shayu yudim. Yeah, they were so strong. So he says, in other words, fulfilling this mitzvah brings victory in battle. But if you don't do this, you don't have the merit to kill them. So if you don't have the merit to kill them, it's a danger for you. So the Ma'adanei Yom Tov also added Rabbi Zerachia Levi, that he quoted by Rabbi Nisim, right? So he says that this halacha is derived from the pasuk, the words, it shall be, apply both to the Shel and the Shel Rosh, implying that the reminder between one's eyes must come and write him to being at the same time as the one of the arm as well. Okay, next. The same halacha would apply even to Maran. Meaning, even according to us, if somebody Chas Shalom speaks between Tefillin Shel Yad and Tefillin Shel Rosh, he has to make a new bracha. However, though, according to Minhag Ashkenazim, that anyway we have a minhag of saying a mitzvah Tefillin, even if he did not make a hefsek, if he does make a hefsek, tzarich lachzor levarech Tefillin Shel Rosh shte brachot. You have to make two brachot. Le'aniach and al mitzvah Tefillin. You understood? So this is a big difference in Sfaradim and Ashkenazim. One more time. Ashkenazim b'derech klal shte brachot. Le'aniach Tefillin al yad, al mitzvah Tefillin al rosh, and then Baruch Shalom Aved. Sfaradim rak echad. Ma korim ata oseh pasek. What happens if you make a hefsek? If you make a hefsek, so now you first Sfaradim le'aniach, and then al mitzvah Tefillin al rosh. According to Ashkenazim, Tefillin shel yad le'aniach, and all the rosh two brachot. Le'aniach and al mitzvah Tefillin. 58. The source of this halacha is the passage cited in the previous footnote. According to Rashi, if someone interrupts, he has to say a second bracha. This is also the Rif and the Rambam. Rabbi Tam have a rule that one must always say a second bracha on Tefillin Shel Rosh, even though you already made the bracha of Laniach Tefillin. So that's Rabbi Tam. That's how the Ashkenazim are doing. So if someone interrupted by speaking, he must then do two brachot, Laniach Tefillin, mitzvah Tefillin, when putting on the Tefillin. There's likewise the ruling of the Rosh, explaining that although each part of the Tefillin needs its own bracha, the blessing of Laniach is on both of them. Right? And therefore, there's no interruption, that you're not allowed to make an interruption. But if someone does interrupt, then you have to make the two different berachot. And Ran ruled according to Rashi, the Rebbe Yitzhak and the Rambam, whereas the Ramah ruled according to Rabbeinu Tam and the Rosh. Okay? Fine. What about touching the Tefillin Shel Yad? The Mishnah Berurah states that if an Ashkenazic Jew comes and he repeats the bracha laniach, it's recommended he moves the Tefillin Shel Yad. So ze kilu al shtehem odata. Okay? Fine. Next halacha, Mem Gimel. Hefsek b'dibur asur ben anachat Tefillin Shel Yad Shel Rosh, hainu afilu milah achat. Even one word is prohibited to be mafsik. Even pasek, one word, asur. Even if you're speaking in Lashon HaKodesh. Even for mitzvah to answer shalom. You have to make again another berach al shel rosh. So imagine, I come, I tell you good morning, you answer good morning. Or even bivrit, shalom. Asur. One word, afilu b'lashon HaKodesh, afilu kavod, lo meshane ma, afilu dvar mitzvah, asur. וכל זה כשהפסיק בדיבור בדברים החיצוניים שאין מצורך לתפילין, אבל אם הפסיק בדיבור בדברים שייכים להניח תפילין, אין צריך לחזור לברך על הנחת תפילין. Obviously, but obviously, what does that mean? If you were speaking for the tefillin, something like that, that's going to be a little bit different. So let's see the footnote 59. 59 comes and he says, sounding one letter an interjection. Rav Avraham Einhorn, he comes and he says that it's forbidden to utter an interjection, shah, to stop someone from speaking, or nu, right? Also, asur. Nu, no nunus, no shasha, nothing. Such an interjection. No nu, sha, no shanu, nothing. He says, without giving a definite ruling, you warned that this might require a beracha, because even vocal sounds is the problem, even if it's not going to be the shh, whatever. Asur. Humming. Are you allowed to hum? So he says, the response of Minchas Yitzchak says that one must not even hum in between, right, one and another. Fine. Number 60. Therefore, the Mishabra ruled that even the interruption was necessary in order to perform mitzvah. Again, he has to make a second bracha. This is a ruling also the Bet Yosef, the Shulchan Aruch, based on this. If someone interrupted while putting on the tefillin and he said, bring me water, because he wanted to wash his hands for praying, it is a full-fledged interruption. Because again, that's also Rav Eliashiv also brings the same halacha. Okay, אפילו בדברים שצורך תפילין, and כן, נרשע בעניין אחר. Okay, next halacha, מ"ד, לכתחילה, אסור להפסיק בשהייה בין תפילין של יד לתפילין שלו, שהוא אפילו בשתיקה. That means you're not allowed to make a pasek even בשתיקה, even without saying anything, just stopping. ואפילו להסיח דעתו, even if there's no היסח הדעת. וכיוון שאסור להפסיק בשתיקה יותר מן הצורך, even though you're not allowed to make a pasek more than necessary, לכן קודם שיברך על התפילין של יד, right, יתיר האגודה של רצועה ויפתחנה. Open it up and open it. ויפשוט אותו מן הראשון לסופה. Take it off. כי לפעמים רצועה תסתבך סופה באמצעה מנושה, וגם לפעמים תסתבך רצועה בחוץ של הכיס ותפילין, ויהיו נחזית לצרכים את זה בזה באופן שצריך לשעות הרבה כדי להטיל מנפיל ידם, ויכול שכאלה אנשים שני זוגות תפילין של יד שבנותם, שיזדמן שיהיו נסבכים מרצועות, צריך שיהיה רק גדולה להפרידם. So he says, והרי זה מפסיק יותר מהצורך, לפיכך יזהרו להכין הרצועה יותר בכל המלאכה. Meaning, when you're coming, you're putting on the tefillin, make sure everything's ready. Especially if you have two tefillin, kal v'chomer, but even one. What does that mean? You take it out of the box and you put it on. Make sure that the retzua is already open. Because if the retzua is the kol, mevulgan, so then afterwards, by the time you're going to come and it's a balagan, it's a ifsek. So what do? It's already open. It's already spread out. It's already muchan. Why? Because immediately, ta, and then you continue. But if you're going to come and start making a huge ifsek, it's going to be a problem. Okay? He says, number 63, the Mishabra actually says, adjusting the size of the loop of the tefillin shel rosh. If someone borrows tefillin, he has to adjust the size of the thing even before the beracha. Okay, so he says, if not, then it could be considered, but he says that it's not considered an interruption, with the avad, obviously. The person putting on the tefillin must make sure not to take his attention away from something else. So when you're borrowing the tefillin, make sure you first measure it before making the bracha. Obviously. Okay? If you're borrowing it, let's say you're borrowing and you have the permission to do it. Right, obviously. Okay? 63 just says the Mishabra states that one should not interrupt by sitting silently. We can do this from not the full-fledged interruption. Additional blessing is not necessary, but he still says, but it's not good to do so. Okay, the last halacha. But if he was doing b'shtikar be, so and there was a sechadat, you have to make a new bracha. Last halacha memhei. לכתחילה צריך להיזהר בשעת ברכה שיהיה גם תפילין שלוש מונח לפניו במקום שמברך, ובדיעבד שניח תפילין של יד בבית אחד, והלך להניח תפילין בבית אחר, לא יחזור לברך. Meaning, לכתחילה have both tefillin in front of you. של יד and שלוש. You make the bracha and you're having in mind both. But b'diavad, if you went from one house to another house, you still don't make a bracha because it's saveh berachol lakel. Meaning you left your tefillin shalosh over there, and here's the tefillin shalat. Still saveh berachol lakel, you don't make a bracha. Says the 64, Birkat Avraham brings down Shirei Knesset Gdula, that it is necessary to recite an additional blessing when putting on tefillin shalosh in another room, even if the person had this in mind when you recite a blessing on tefillin shel yad, his position is acting going from another room is automatically an interruption, and therefore they said, right, it's not that simple. He says, but if you did it, again, you're not going to make a bracha, right? But again, saveh berachol lakel, but obviously you should be very, very, very careful.